privileged to be here and thankful to the organizers, especially from GV and all the other organizers to have me here. My association with GV has been long. My wife Chitra was part of the old design team for GEV, and now it's good to be here and revisiting it. And I'll be talking very specifically about my intervention in the group that I work with called Biome Trust, which works on water, and what ancient knowledge and emerging technologies mean on the ground. So this is the gist of the talk that I want to do. Broadly, in the urban Indian context, we have 3 taps and 4 stores for water. And climate change is about carbon in the atmosphere, but climate change impact is all about water. Hydrological cycle is the one most impacted, and therefore we have to deal with it in the era of climate change. Now, we have 3 taps and 4 stores. Pipe water supply, which comes generally from a dam far away. But then we have rainwater, which falls on our head. We were not using it wisely. And treated used water, which is now the emerging technology for us to work on. The storages are surface water, lakes, ponds, streams, wetlands, rivers. Soil moisture, very important form of storage with organic carbon. Groundwater, springs, shallow aquifer, and deep aquifer. Groundwater is crucial. India is one of the largest users of groundwater. We are a groundwater civilization. And then the modern constructions of drums, barrels, sumps, and dams. And there's now, of course, desalination in coastal areas and air to water, but these are not at scale. And there's a tap control, which is demand management. And that demand management is one of the most crucial aspects of how we manage water and live sustainably. And previous speakers have spoken about it.
How is soil moisture storing?
Soil is the greatest store of water. It stores more water than river streams and in the aquifer. And if we keep the soil with organic carbon and fresh and with humus, then it stores more water and therefore retains it. Right? So that's what it is. One of the ancient practices that we have in our part of the world around Bangalore is something called the Silendra. What you see there is a granite tank here. That's Silendra, and you notice the structure is below a tree. Ashwath katte, a neem tree or an Ashwatha banyan tree. There's a small horizontal slab. The whole point was that when travelers moved around, especially during visiting pilgrim places, temples, on the way these structures would be built. You had a head load, you put it on the horizontal slab, you opened a spigot, took out a stick, drank water, rested there below the tree, ate food, then moved on. Now, who filled the water? Nobody knows. But who drank the water? The traveler knows. This was the way which the community treated water as a common pool resource, as an act of piety, right? This is what the construct of water was, as a common pool resource, as something that you gave. Now, of course, water has been commodified and privatized, and we have to now live in an era of both privatization and common pool resource. How do we bring it back? That is our challenge, right? So one of the things that our group does is to identify these structures, try to retain them, and try to have discussions with community to keep them alive. The old pyavus. The other lesson which came in the previous talks also, and which is what we do, is to revive old dug wells. The dug well history in India dates back to the Indus Valley civilization. It's about 5,000 years old, right? Lothal has dug wells, Mohenjo-daro had dug wells, Harappa had dug wells. Wells were the source of water. Even in GEV, there's a dug well, which is a beautiful place where children enjoy swimming also at one point of time. And that's the source of water. Now, dug wells is a traditional construct. Can it fit in within the sustainability notion of urban India and rural India also? So we revive all these dug wells. And an important lesson came from that lady in the center. She said, don't put a pump. If you put a pump or a motor in this well, we will draw out more water. The water will go to these apartments and restaurants nearby, and the well will go dry. But we go to the well and draw 4 buckets of water, bindige as they call it. We know that this well will always have water and it will last us through summer. And so 75 families will benefit from it. Now, in modern parlance, we would call it demand management, living within the resource availability. But it's common sense coming from villagers. And we had to persuade our CSR funder not to put the pump in this well because the community and the women were wanting it. And of course, in 2024, Bangalore went through a severe crisis of water. It's all the global news. This well had water at 10 feet. And it continues to have water. Now, this is one of the fundamental problems of want, need, greed, and living within ecological resource availability. And we think that the well as a construct is a great signaler of water. It tells you summer is coming. It tells you this is a year of drought. Water levels are going down. You have to use carefully. You don't need AI, sensors, and other equipment to know that the water level is going down and you have to use it carefully. And in years of plenty, the water is there for you to use in abundance. If you do recharge, you benefit from it. If you put all garbage around it, it will be polluted. It will punish you for it. So therefore, the well is a great functional tool, but also a communication tool. So we have to go back to the culture of the well, which is our ancient knowledge system, perhaps with modern terminologies. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this is what we are doing, reviving community assets, which are called wells, and making them beautiful structures so that people appreciate what it's all about, and also learning the deep philosophy that comes from what a well is and how water is provided for us. And what we've learned is modern civilization has put 45 truckloads of garbage in wells in urban areas. That has been cleaned up. Now it becomes a community resource and is there for people to use, right? How do we fit this mentality is one of our challenge. The traditional knowledge also comes from the well digging community called the Manvaddars, who've been digging wells for 100,000 years, right? This community is still around in our city. They know where the water is sweet, how deep to dig, how to dig safely, how the earth does not collapse, how there's no carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide in the well so that they don't die. And so there's never an accident with them. And they have various names for various soils, and they have various names for various water there. Can we bring this knowledge with the hydrogeological knowledge that we are now generating through science, and can both interact and help provide sustainable water? So we work with the well digging community, and the well digging community actually is now in business, about 750 families in Bangalore. They're digging 1 million wells. They're cleaning up 10,000 wells, which are old, but also digging 1 million recharge wells. And the recharge wells will put rainwater into the aquifer so that the groundwater table comes up. They get a livelihood. They get to practice their traditional knowledge. And in the process, the city gets water security. So can water security for cities and towns come not from big capital asset investments, but small, practical, livelihood-based solutions, right? That's something that we are trying out. And so this is how they dig recharge wells. A team of 4 or 5 can finish off a well in 2 days. And that's the skill they have. The other part is revival of water systems. One of the crucial parts of water systems is the process is as important as the product. It's not enough you take a JCB and dig out all silt, put it in a tractor and dump it somewhere and say that the lake is revived. The people have to participate, have to understand. In this case, women participate. They clean up the channels that feed water into the lake. They get a living wage. And our goal is 100 days of work through CSR funding, 100 days of work through NREGA, and 100 days of work working in the farms and fields which farmers are cultivating. 300 days of work for the women in the village itself, so that it becomes a productive village and there is no migration, which is distress migration, and there's water security for the village. And this is what women like Asha and Arohana do and achieve through the work that they contribute to. So we now need to tie up CSR, government, and community together to find solutions for water. And these women are working to clean up all the kalways and channels. And silt is as welcome as the waters. The worship of Ganesha in our part of the world was Chik Kerel Bidda Dot Kerel Yedda. He falls into the small lake and comes out from the big lake. He comes out in the form of silt because silt is nutrient soil. And this silt, which is taken away from tanks and applied on fields, means that you don't need any artificial fertilizer. So the respect for Ganesha has also to come back. That's the knowledge system that we have, and we do that through the work of people. There are traditional communities which are working with water, the Nirgantis who are responsible for distributing it, Gangama, the float, which celebrated plenty when the water tank overflowed. And of course, the paddy cultivation, which was inherent to the landscape, which can all come back if you manage water sustainably and properly. That's the green paddy, Nellu, that we can enjoy. Don't have to go to Bali. You can come to Kolar and take a look at it, spend your time there with the landscape of water. So that's the conceptual framework for rain. It's not rocket science. It falls on the roof. It falls on paved areas. It falls on major stormwater drains in the city. You need to filter it and store it and treat it. Important lesson here, gated community 360 sites, no connection to the pipe network to the city, which means that every one of them would have drilled a bore well. 360 plots would have drilled a bore well. 360 straws, same tender coconut, everybody competing with each other. Each straw, 4 lakh rupees, 14.4 crore rupees, emptying the coconut shell as quickly as possible. Competitive drilling, competitive consumption. How do you turn it around? What you do is you say only 3 bore wells. Whatever water we get, we will share. But 360 recharge wells. Competitive consumption to cooperative filling. If you do cooperative filling, it's what this community learned. The groundwater table actually comes up. And if you cap your demand at 20,000 liters a month, you have not only plenty for yourself, but you have plenty for the community. This is the mindset change that we need at city level, at at other levels. Move away from that individual competitive consumption-driven model to a cooperative filling and use model, but with equal access to everybody. It doesn't mean that you don't have access to water or you have to limit your needs, but you can do so wisely and you can still be sustainable. So this is the example that we have, and we have now AI and dashboards and tools which can also help us to do this much more. And I won't go deeper into that because the second well is not far away. So what we're doing is, in the gated communities all around the city, the layouts, we persuade private builders to make sure that they protect the wells, include it as part of parks and open spaces, redo it, recharge the upper stream, and therefore the wells are full and they become the sources of water for these huge communities and developments, 220 acres, 300 acres, 500 acres. And it can be done with traditional systems like lime mortar and mud mortar, so that the skills return back to the well digging community, the manuvardars and the kalluvardars, the people who used to line these wells with stone, right? So that's something that heritage plus functionality, traditional knowledge, and modern wants can all meet. The last example that I want to give you is Devanhalli town where the international airport is located. These people are standing in what was the lake. The lake's gone bone dry, 14 years, no water at all. The lake gets desilted, cleaned, and linked to the catchment. That's how the lake looks like now. Rainwater coming into that, but also treated wastewater coming into it. Treated wastewater, diluted, but treated so effectively that it is potable water. Now diluted, filling the lake. Clean up the well next to the lake. The well is now full of water. It gives 3 lakh liters in a 12-hour pumping cycle. Set up a water treatment plant. And Devanhalli is the first town in India which actually drinks sewage. But drinks with science in mind. And this system delivers BIS 10500 drinking water quality. At 1.54 rupee, 1,000 liters potable water. So we talk about Singapore, Israel. But this is traditional lake, traditional dug well, meeting modern science with activated carbon filters, UV sterilization, and chlorination, and being monitored for emerging contaminants, pathogens, pesticides, AMR, ARG, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, treating that and then supplying it to villages. So therefore, in India, this is this huge potential to marry the traditional with the most modern and still be sustainable. No other country that I know of gives us that wonderful opportunity. So the youngsters here have a future which will work on this. So these are examples that demand science too, but demand traditional knowledge. Watershed is something that we know of, but we need to understand aquifers. We need to do that through Google Earth maps, which show us old dug wells and old filter bore wells, map that, understand the aquifer, understand storativity, transmissivity, all the science that goes to it, all that is needed, and then marry it with treated wastewater, which comes from our cities. And I won't deal too much with it, but treated wastewater is now flowing from the city of Bangalore to Devanhalli town through these pipes, filling up these lakes and making the landscape sustainable, right? So this is watershed characterization. That is needed. Science is needed. Aquifer characterization, groundwater characterization, science is needed. We need to do that. We need data loggers, AI, ML, everything to work to give us more information, more knowledge, all part of the game. And you can then make our areas and our cities sustainable. Wastewater treatment plants are the new emerging spaces of technology. You should be able to drink treated wastewater. We know that in GEV itself, the wastewater treatment plant, the SPD treatment plant, provides good quality water for agriculture purpose. We can take it a step higher. We can use nature as an intermediary, and we can make the entire landscape around the city glorious, from a environmental point and a livelihoods point, and then you can get water security for the farmers and in turn food security for the city itself. This is what the minor irrigation department of the government of Karnataka is doing. So you're turning the city into a water and fertilizer factory. The city is no longer a net consumer of water. It is a pit stop for water. Fresh water comes to the city, gets collected in the sewage treatment plants, is treated adequately, is supplied to the farmers, revives lakes and aquifers, becomes food and comes back to the city, providing livelihoods in the place. So therefore, the villain that the city is can be transformed if we work wisely with water. And these are the influence zones that the cities can have. Bangalore is aiming to do that for itself. And so therefore, making the invisible visible, including social aspects of solutions, making livelihoods at the heart of it, making gender at the heart of the solution-seeking space, and working on all these parameters will get us to what we call One Health, where the health of nature, and the health of animals and planets, birds, and the health of human beings are all tied together, which is the One Health concept. One health and one water and one community. That's the way ahead for us in India, where we marry ancient knowledge and traditional knowledge and modern science. Thank you for your time.